Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Recovery Classroom. My name is Drew. I'm an alcoholic, and today I'm a recovering alcoholic, and I cannot be any more grateful. We had an incredible crosstalk meeting last night, the best crosstalk meeting I've ever witnessed. I want to thank everybody who came out last night and participated in the conversation and the dialogue. If it wasn't a record-setting attendance, it was a close second, but beyond that, the amount of people, the volume of people who were participating in the conversation and sharing their own ideas and their own opinions, man, it was incredible. So I want to thank you guys. If you guys missed last night's meeting, wow, you missed a meeting. It was the meeting. If you're local to the Huntington, West Virginia area, every Tuesday and Friday night, you can come down and join the conversation, join the dialogue, and participate every Tuesday and Friday night at 7 o'clock, 5747 East Pea Ridge Road in Huntington. The quickest hour in recovery, and last night was phenomenal, incredible. So thank you guys for those of you who made it out last night. I want to talk about one of the topics we discussed last night in the meeting and carry on the conversation from yesterday on emotional vulnerability. Now, typically what happens, and just to give you a quick recap, we talked about how when we come into recovery, we've already taken a huge gut punch to our pride, to our ego, to our self-esteem, right? And what I mean by that is we've had to admit, at some point in time, we've had to admit that we can't control our drinking or our drugging. We just can't do it. After all, that's why we're coming into recovery, right? Because we can't control it. We've made that decision. I need help. I'm going to go seek treatment. I'm going to go do a 12-step program. I'm going to go meet with this person. That's a huge hit to our self-esteem, to our ego. And then keep this in mind too. We're drinking and drugging anyway because we're hiding these emotions that we don't want to deal with, these feelings of inadequacies and insecurities. This no self-value, no self-esteem type of thing, right? We're hiding. So we've got all these emotional things stacked up on top of each other, and then we add the gut punch of, you can't even control your drinking or drugging. So when we come into recovery, we are going to be super sensitive. And the reason why I say that is it's like when, I use this example, when you go to the gym and you start lifting weights. Your muscles are going to be sore and tender. That's your body's way of healing itself, right? You've decimated the muscles, so that's your body's way of healing yourself. When I was out in the madness, I was decimating my spiritual health, my mental health, my physical health. And so when I came into recovery, I'm super sensitive, emotionally sensitive, because I spent years beating the shit out of myself. And so that was my body's way, that emotional sensitivity, that's my body's way of saying, hey, Drew, you need to heal yourself. And being emotionally sensitive is a good thing. It becomes problematic and dangerous whenever we expose those emotions to people in meetings, to people in the grocery store, to people in treatment centers. And we do a really good job. We do a really good job of protecting and planning that, hey, we understand we're emotionally sensitive, so we may take something the wrong way, something that somebody says, we may take it the wrong way. And we don't want to get pissed off at something somebody says and go back out the door and go back out to the madness, right? We do a really good job of that. Whenever, we're anticipating somebody, brushing up against our ego and really hurting our feelings, so to speak, because we're sensitive anyway. What we sometimes miss, though, is whenever our ego gets artificially inflated when somebody pays a little too much attention to us. And next thing you know, we start feeling important. We start feeling, hey, this person likes me. And then we get into a relationship. Now, we all know the age-old saying of you don't want to get into a relationship within the first year. That's not exactly how it goes. It's actually you don't want to make any major life changes within the first year. But relationships seem to be the predominant change that I see anyway firsthand. And there's a couple things I want to point out. But before I do, I want to lay out this disclaimer. It's none of my business. These are suggestions only. As a matter of fact, these are just my own thoughts. Doesn't mean you have to take them. I want to encourage you. This is none of my business. I 100% concede that. But talk to your sponsor. If you're getting into a relationship or are in a relationship, no one's going to judge you for it. It's not a bad thing. It can be dangerous. But that's why I encourage you to talk to your sponsor. Find a sponsor, get a sponsor, be upfront, and tell them, let them help you navigate these waters, because they can, in fact, be some tricky waters. But a couple things I want to point out about relationships in early sobriety is, again, you are artificially inflating your ego. But even more so, a little bit further beyond that, is what I call the double jeopardy issue. Not only is your own sobriety now being risked, but the person you're with, you could be jeopardizing, I should say, their sobriety as well. Because God forbid, what happens if you relapse? That person could relapse too. Or vice versa. What happens if they relapse? You're more prone or more exposed to a relapse yourself. And then don't forget this. What about the redirect? What about the redirect? You're trying to help this other person. You're trying to hold them accountable, and you're trying to help this other person so much that you start forgetting and missing things in your own personal recovery. Right? And then what about this? What about this? How is it that I can love somebody else unconditionally and so through and through, but I haven't yet figured out how to do that with myself. I haven't figured out how to love myself. After all, that's what recovery is all about, right? Is learning how to love yourself. It took me 6 months, I think, before I realized I hadn't been loving myself. Now my situation is a little bit different in this regard. But again, these are all topics that you are all things that you want to keep in the back of your mind. And again, I 100% concede it's not my business. But these are things you definitely want to talk and have that conversation with your sponsor with, because it could be detrimental. But let me ask you this too. Are you really in a position to give the best version of yourself to another person? And are they in a position to give the best version of themselves to you? And is that fair? Again, these are all topics you want to address with your sponsor. Talk to the person you're getting in a relationship with. There's nothing wrong with that too. A couple valid points that were brought up last night anyway. It could very well be a way to hold each other accountable. Again, you got to be careful about that whole redirect thing. You don't want to start taking on their problems whenever you're trying to handle your own. All right, it's easy to get redirected from that regard. But yeah, it's absolutely a valid way to perhaps hold people accountable. Provided that you ask that person to hold you accountable and they ask you to hold them accountable. That makes perfect sense to me. But again, it's not for me or anybody else to decide. It's up to you to decide on how you go about treading those waters. But again, I want to reiterate, first and foremost, it's none of my business. Secondly, I want to remind you, get a qualified sponsor. Talk to them about it. Listen to them. Heed their warnings. Heed their guidelines. Try to follow their guidelines. Again, the age-old saying has nothing to do with relationships. It has everything to do with making major life changes. That could be a job, a career. That could be a relationship. For me, when I came in, it was looking like I was going to be getting out of a relationship. So I had a slightly different perspective than what most folks do. But at the end of the day, it's a conversation worth having. It's a conversation that needs to be had, especially when you're early in sobriety, because those first few missteps could end up sending you back out the door. And that, as I said yesterday, will do nobody any good. Nobody any good. So I know this is a difficult topic. And again, this is where you want to speak with your sponsor. Work with them. Make them aware of what's going on and what your thoughts and feelings are. Talk with the person you're in a relationship with, because at the end of the day, this affects them too. So with that being said, that's all I'm going to say on it. But I think it's definitely worth a topic worth bringing up. So thank you guys for letting me come in and share 5 to 10 minutes of your day with you. You guys absolutely keep me sober, and I cannot be more appreciative. If there's a topic you'd like to hear discussed, feel free to drop it into an email to me, Drew, D-R-E-W, at recoveryclassroom.org. We'll take a look at it, see what we can do. And again, I want to thank everybody who came out to Crosstalk last night. It was incredible. So thank you so much. It was so much fun. We'll be talking again soon. Remember, guys, you can't get drunk if you don't take that first drink.